I kind of want to start. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Virginia community. One of our players had one of his close friends, Jordan Clark. One of his friends was involved, and so he's doing okay. But just wanted to put that out there before we get started. So,
hi, Shaun, Hodorvino, Devil's Digest. Do you have any updates in terms of the health of Trenton, Rowe, and Kyle for Saturday? And second part of my question is the fact that Emory Jones came in and played as well as he did. Do you think that's important to have that confidence booster this late in the season in case he's called upon duty for the next couple of games?
Absolutely. I don't get my the full medical report on who's going to be probable or questionable until 3:00 today. So I'll know a little bit more. I thought they were moving around pretty well, but all of the medical reports will come back to me at 3:00. I thought Emory did a good job coming in, especially coming off the bench and it's cold and put in a situation where he had to go and make plays. I thought he played pretty well. It is from a confidence level from my point of view and from his, just knowing that he can get back on the field again. And so when he's called on, but I think he'll be ready. And he told me that he'll be ready whenever his name is called.
Shaun, Chris Cartman, Son of a Source. You have the senior day this week. What kind of thoughts do you have about doing that for the first time in your role, and about the guys that you have that are going to be leaving the program?
When I first had my first conference, you talk about inspiring kids, and they really inspired me. They held me accountable. I thought this senior group has been through a lot. And, for them to keep playing, and that's our motivation and my theme of these next 2 weeks, and to keep their motivation is these seniors, there's kids on this team that need to play for these seniors. And this is their last time they're walking through Tillman Tunnel and playing on this field. And so there's motivation there. And then the motivation for the last week is the Territorial Cup. And so our kids will come out and play because of that motivation. Have you seen in the past, they won't quit. They could have quit this last game when it was cold, but they're going to play, and they're playing for something more than themselves, especially for the seniors. And so we'll be ready to go. We'll get through our injuries and get through our practices. And I'm going to save a little bit on them from a length standpoint, because we have some guys that need to get healthy, but our guys will be motivated to play, Chris.
In particular, Kyle Soley and Merlin Robertson, they've been around forever, and they've given so much to the program. So what do you have to say about sending those guys off the right way?
Yeah, to see their resiliency and to see that their care, and they talk about being Sun Devils for life. That means a lot. For me to be a part of that has been huge for me in my career. I'm going to miss them because I've been with them for 4 years now, and seen their transformation in maturity, both on and off the field. And so it'll be bittersweet for them, but just watching them go through the adversity they have been going through, there's no doubt that they're going to be successful in their lives. And I'm happy to see grown men. Our gratification for coaching is seeing those guys become great men later on and great fathers. I've seen Merlin, because he's a father right now, and him being around his kids. And it's just more gratifying to me than the wins and losses. It's just them being a good man.
Michelle Gardner, Arizona Republic.
Hey,
can you talk about maybe at halftime what flipped the switch with this team? Because everybody says to heck with moral victories, but to do what you guys did in the second half after that kind of first half, what was the message in the locker room? And were there one or two players maybe that were instrumental in kind of keeping the team together in that moment?
Yeah, there's two players, TJ Pesafea and Jordan Clark came up and we talked about playing for pride and getting back on it. We needed to make sure that we executed. We didn't execute well, and we need to play with more heart. And they came back, and the coaches, I thought, made pretty good adjustments at halftime, and the kids listened. In that time, you look at their eyes and their faces, and you seem, sometimes they seem lost at that point. But there was a couple of vocal players in that group, and told them everybody got to get off and get going, and get up and get going, and I thought they did.
Yeah. So Shaun, maybe a little bit awkward question, but
Sure.
But within a couple of weeks of ASU having a new football coach, whether
Yes.
it's you or somebody else or whatever. So from your perspective, given all of your understanding of ASU and the local community and everything, what would you think are the most important criteria for whoever that person is?
You know, the continuity, the passion for Arizona State football. You know, I think it's hard for somebody to come from the outside that has no idea what Arizona State football means to people. The Arizona State High School Football Association, that's going to have to be really important. But the love for Arizona State football, I think that's the number one, especially in this transition and understanding what type of recruited athletes that we want here. To build a program that is disciplined and held accountable and put on a product that is tough, that never quits. Those are the type of things that, from a criteria standpoint, that I would want to see as being a Sun Devil fan myself. And so those are the things that I think are very, very important to the Sun Devil community, and hopefully that fits well.
Do you think that somebody who comes in who doesn't have a lot of the market specific knowledge and understanding, that there's a learning curve that makes it more difficult than somebody who inherently understands a lot of those things, such as yourself?
Absolutely. You know, I think from a community based, from a recruiting base, from a financial base, all of that stuff would have to be learned. For somebody that has that knowledge, I think it's a huge advantage. And then I think the people of the Sun Devil Nation understand that there's somebody that has to care about it and not use it as a stepping stone to go someplace else. And I think that's huge. They want continuity. They want somebody that builds a community not from a football program that is outreached into Arizona itself and the alumni. And so it is a special place. Being here as an assistant and then the interim head coach, understanding a lot more, having my son as a Sun Devil here as well, and growing up 20 some years, my kids growing up here in Arizona. So it is important for me, no matter what way it goes.
Coach, when you watch Oregon State on film, what jumps out at you about them, and what's going to be the big key for you guys this week?
You know, they're second ranked defense in the Pac-12, very similar to Washington State. I think they do a great job not getting hit with big plays. They do bring exotic pressures, very similar to Washington State, but they play disciplined football. On the offensive side, you know, they're a multiple group that likes to run the football. But I love their toughness. I think Coach Smith does a great job in bringing out the toughness with that group. I know Coach Lindgren and Coach Braid do a great job as coordinators. I know them personally, and it will be a fight for us, and we need to match the intensity that they have.
Will it matter who's quarterback for them? Because obviously their backup quarterback's been the guy playing, and the other guy, I guess, is in concussion protocol and has been. So does it change how you prepare when you don't maybe know which quarterback will be in there?
I think a little bit, but they want to run the football and be in heavy sets and those things. And so it's not as much as if it is a spread out offense and that guy's hurting you with his legs. But we're just going to prepare with what we saw last week and just in our back of our minds understand we have to make an adjustment if it's another quarterback.
I'll go one more.
Yes.
Jack Coletto has been like a weapon against ASU. He's literally
he's been a headache.
He's yeah. How do you? I mean, it's been 3 years now. You're dealing with him, and ASU didn't have any better success last year than the year before. How do you try and beat the dude?
Hopefully, not be in 4-1 situation so he can run the football. But you know, he does a good job coming in on the defensive side of the ball and playing linebacker. He's just a tough kid. You know, the more and more you look at football, you want those type of kids. I think we have one in the Case Hatch, and I mean, just good football players that are utility knife guys that just have fun doing whatever they're asked to do. But he is a problem, and we got to make sure that he doesn't get on the field.
The Pac-12 has 6 top 25 teams, 5 I think in the top 16 or so. What do you make of that, given sort of the situation that you personally inherited, and kind of how the challenges, like all the challenges that kind of went into this season for you guys?
There was never a break in any of this part of the season for us. We go from Utah to USC, and that's a huge challenge. We both were in the top 10, and then you got UCLA and Washington, and now Oregon State, and it's a challenge. It's good, I think, for the conference that there's so many good teams and there's parity within the teams, but it's a battle and everybody's knocking each other off, and whoever plays the best football that week with less turnovers, I think wins the game, because anybody can beat anybody on any given Saturday. I think it'll play out the next couple of weeks the same way as well. But I'm glad there's parity, and I'm glad there's competition, and it's good to face that competition.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Have a good week, guys.
What's up, group? How is everybody? Yeah. Hey, what's up? Oh, Steve. All right, go ahead, Michelle. You get to roll first after reading your article. Like that one? You like that one? I tell you, y'all don't think I read them. I read them.
Could you talk about the adjustments that you guys made, obviously, from this first half to the second half? It was a different team out there, even despite the personnel. They played really hard.
I think that's what happened. More than anything, I think we came out and played a little bit harder. We did practically the same thing. We didn't make anything major. We settled them down, talked about that. And really, I think the game changed because of them more than us. They got a little bit more conservative, I thought, more than anything. We started executing what we were trying to do. We brought a little bit more pressure. But other than that, we really didn't.
Who was the message guy on that unit that kind of maybe got in guys' faces or kind of mobilized the unit?
You always get somebody in there talking. It's just that guy at that particular time. It's no one person all the time. It's just whoever's talking at the moment.
Sort of multi-part question, Donnie. So I'm assuming you knew some of those guys wouldn't be playing, or you thought some of them might not be playing because they weren't practicing on Wednesday, especially corner. But did that sort of change at all any of your approach to the game, not having Rowe? It's
like you said, we knew sometimes you can't show your hand, so to speak, week to week. And, fortunate for me, I've been around a long time where, you just try to play through it and you practice the guys that you're going to have to play, and you're hoping the guys that is a little sick can play, so to speak. But as the week goes on, pretty much, hey, this guy's probably, he probably ain't going to make it. And now you're saying to yourself, luckily that you practice these other guys during the week. So the guys that played was more of the guys that got all the reps all week, basically.
Did you play different coverages than you
did? No, same coverages. Same guys played. We didn't change any coverages like that. But the biggest thing was those guys who practiced all week did play in the game compared to, the guys that was a little sick.
It felt like, especially early on, you had some close opportunities where safeties got their hands on balls.
Got our hands on a lot of balls, man. And, Chris got his hands on at least 2 himself, one on their sideline, one on our sideline. I think DJ got his hands on one. We batted down a few. So we got our hands on a lot of balls. Unfortunate for us, it didn't turn into turnovers or takeaways. So we talked about that a little bit as a staff. Hey, we got our hands on some balls. And again, the change was, if you ask me, was them more than us, because they slowed it. We started bringing a little bit more pressure, and then they started saying we better get a little bit conservative and try to get this game over with, so to speak, than trying to say, let's run up the score. That's how I felt about
it. Donnie, you've been around Merlin and Kyle for a long time, and others who are seniors. What do you think about just kind of what they've brought to the program?
Well, they've been here longer than me, obviously, and that's somebody was saying to me, what do you got 2 games left. You can't go to a bowl game. What do you play for? I can make that very simple. You got 2 games. You play one for the seniors and you play one for the state. And our seniors deserve that. They deserve to go out in those 2 games as winners, winning as your last home game, and then win as the state. So that's what I've talked about, and I think that's the message it will be the message from my end as far as the defense is concerned. And I said it to him yesterday. That's what you're playing for. Sometimes it's hard to get motivated when you don't see yourself going to a bowl. But realistic right now, you got a chance to do 2 things that's significant. There's one's for the seniors, and then the other one is for the state. So we got a lot to play for.
And when you're in the role that you have, is there anything this particular week that you do differently or that you do to honor those guys, or conversations you might have with them? Or is it kind of the same?
I think it takes care of itself, because they get their own day. They get to walk out with their parents and significant others, and those type of deals that you try to honor them with. I'll have probably that last walkthrough, where they get to go down the line and get to hit them. No, I'm just kidding. They get to walk down the line and you get to high five them and give them hugs, things like that. I hope we'll get that accomplished. But that's about it.
And then, Coach, I know you talked about all season long, obviously, whether who's in there or out, but playing the full game, playing consistently, and it's not been for obviously lack of effort. The effort's been there, but what do you see as, I guess, been the speed bump to that, just playing that complete defensive game?
Well, it's usually the same thing. It's mental breakdowns at times, not executing the call, not playing technique. And the best part about that, I don't believe anybody is trying to do anything malicious or trying to screw up or trying to have errors. It just, it's the game is so tough. You got to play it one play at a time. And, it's the circle. Once you get the call, you got to know what you're supposed to do. And then you got to make sure you make the communication. Next thing you got to know is what technique goes with that call. And then the ball is snapped. And now once the ball is snapped, you hopefully you've ran through that in your mind before that ball is snapped. And that's what it comes down to. And sometimes you get, the ball is getting ready to be snapped and you're still saying, what do I line? And, it's like I say to the players, and I played myself at one time. For me, the scariest moment for me was not knowing the call. Not knowing the call is a scary moment. Can you imagine that? You break the huddle and you don't know the call, and now you got to line up. What do you do? So if you can eliminate that process by getting it the circle, once you hear the call, you process it, you know what you're supposed to do, you get lined up, and now the technique comes into play, you're usually pretty good. But I think that's as the years progress, the biggest thing has been, getting lined up and playing technique.
Hey, Donnie, Cole Bradley, Sun Devil Source. As you prepare for Oregon State, they have a really dynamic rushing attack. It seems like they, spread out their carries pretty evenly. What are you sort of seeing from them as you prepare for them?
I see a fast offense that's hitting that ball, hitting it downhill. The runners are pretty good runners, all 3 of them. The offensive line knows exactly how they're getting off the ball, and they're mauling you and they're knocking you off the ball. And then, this quarterback is much different than the last quarterback. Obviously, they don't ask him to throw the ball as much. I mean, this is a running football team. So, the biggest thing for us is we got to pack it in. And I talked about it last week is making sure I can see the back of your jersey, seeing your name, because if that thing gets sideways, it's going downhill. So probably one of the most explosive offenses we've seen as far as the running game. I mean, they're well coached now. This is a well coached team. One of the coaches have said, this might be the most or the best well coached team in the Pac-12. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're committed to running the football. There ain't no doubt about that. Everybody knows it too. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I asked Coach Aguano this too, but what about preparing for Jack Coletto? He's kind of been a thorn in the side of ASU the past couple of years.
Who is that? I got her on that one. Did you see her? Did you see her go, oh no, he really doesn't know? Is that number 12? Is that guy you're talking about? The big guy that plays all the positions? Well, what about him? Well, when he's in the game, that's for sure. He'll let you know when he's coming in. you're right. He has been a thorn a little bit, over the years. He's been in that situation where he's the quarterback, and now he's, short yardage. He's running downhill. Now they spread him. Now he's doing a little bit more. Now he's the fullback at times, and now he's blocking people. Now all of a sudden he turns around. Yeah, they got the personnel on the field. They can put him at quarterback. The bottom line is knowing when he's in the game for me and making sure I can make the right situational calls and make sure we can get lined up and keep the ball in front. That's basically how I look at it. When I know he's in the game, I know he's a weapon, so you better make sure I got the right calls in to make sure we get lined up. Got you on that one, didn't I? Mm-hmm. I know. I knew I got you on that one, especially after your article. Did you guys converse? I mean, you guys didn't talk about it? Oh, really? Must have been a little cold. Did you? Oh, did you? I'm sorry to hear that. How you doing? You okay? Really? You had COVID, really? I had it too at one time when they got me for 18 days. I know what it's like. Ugh, yeah. What we got? Come on. What? What you got? Come on.
Hey, Coach.
What? This has been a difficult year. Go ahead.
You mentioned without sort of the promise of a bowl game,
right?
The difficulties that go into motivating the players. We 2 games left. What goes into making sure that they're ready from start to finish?
Well, just like I said, I mean, to me, we got 2 games, and there's 2 reasons for those games. One's for the seniors, and the other one's for the state. If you can't get up for those 2, it's going to be hard for me to motivate you anyway. I mean, because if someday you're going to be a senior, and you're going to hope that, guess what, we play our tails off, so your last hurrah in this stadium is a good one, because that's what you're going to remember. Say what you want. From one of you athletes that have been in here, I'm sure you remember your last game. And how did it go? Did you win or lose it? And you went, and you remember it. So it's easy for me. I can tell you right now, I got 2 things to think about it. It's for the seniors and it's for the state. That's my bowl game. I can win them 2. I'm happy. Can't take away from anything else. I can't go backwards. At least I can keep moving forwards and get 1 for the seniors and 1 for the state. So that's me. That's how I'm looking at it. He almost got me excited there.
Don, I asked this of Shaun earlier. You're very familiar with ASU for a very long time.
Yeah.
There's going to be a new head coach, whether that's Shaun or somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are the most important criteria, specifically at ASU, that make good for a good candidate?
Well, you got one. You got the guy that's running it right now. You got a local guy that knows the people in the valley, that knows all high school coaches in this valley, that wants the job. And maybe I'm speaking for him, but you got the perfect candidate. I mean, Shaun has done a great job taking over this program and leading it in the direction we are in. I mean, you think about it now. I've been around a long time, and when you start making changes at mid-season, it could go the other way. I'll give you one right now. You think about those guys in the pros right now. And luckily, Saturday won last week. Yeah, but when you start making changes and you bring guys in from the outside where these kids don't know and things like that, it becomes a question mark in their mind of what then they start to question the administration, what are you trying to accomplish? But you ask for the key thing, it's leadership, and he brings that to the table. I mean, he's got great leadership qualities, and not only that, he's got the energy, man. You got to have somebody with energy that comes in this program. This is not as easy as people always think about. And I've been here a long time, 2 tours, and you got to fight. You got to go over. You got to have a great recruiting base. Number one, you're gonna hit all the local high schools, which he will do. Try to get the best kids to stay home, which most of the time they don't want to. They want to go see something else, and I understand it. I got an 18-year-old son that I tried to get him to stay home and be an athlete here, and he said, "I'm going to Minnesota." What? But that's what the kids grow up wanting to do. So, when the people in this valley really sit down and think about who could be the next guy, you got him right now. You really do.
Follow on. There are coaches who motivate by fear. There's coaches who motivate by love.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of tough to bridge the gap between those 2 things with discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And ASU struggled with that over the years, kind of bouncing between the one side or the other.
Does that mean just the leadership groups they brought in?
I just think that the coaching staff, for whatever reason, they've either been the players, coaches who are high on penalties, discipline issues, or you've had the Todd Graham type of a coach, right?
Right.
So Bruce Snyder seemed like a guy who found a way to thread the needle with that. And so what do you think as a coach about Shaun and about just the importance of kind of being able to have discipline, but also have players that are motivated?
Well, he's already demonstrated that with us now. I mean, I like Shaun's approach, really. It's a discipline that really you understand it before you can get it, because he'll tell you in a minute, if you're late, okay, there's no excuses, there's consequences. And once you lay that on the line right early, you don't have a problem. It's when you have to vacillate back and forth trying to figure out how you draw the line. But the line's already been drawn with these kids. They know right now that if you miss something, you're up at 5:30 in the morning. That's it. That's your consequence. And you don't have to beat the dead horse, so to speak. You just lay out the consequences and you move on. That's discipline. I mean, it's like I told my son, and I'll tell you guys here. When I was brought up, there was only one rule in my house. Okay? And I grew up with 7 kids. I was the oldest of 7. And my dad only had one rule. You know what it was? The do right rule. If you had to think about it, it's wrong. Drop the mic. I'm gone. How about that?
Thank you.
How about that? That's the only rule you need to know. You got to think about it. It's wrong. Hello.